Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. It's Thursday, June 5th. I am Patrick Daugherty, joined by Denny Carter and Kyle Dvorchak. And guys, I don't know if you've heard, they're fighting on the internet about my GM rankings. They were posted Thursday morning. Who's too high? Who's too low? Who could be an ascender? We're going to talk about that in the second half of the show, but we're going to start, as always, with news because, God, the news. Why? Just why? Before the show, we have an annual thing. We're like, what are we going to riff about today? And then 2 seconds before the show began today, guess who decided we had to talk about him yet again?
Old A-Rod.
Aaron Rodgers. By leaking that he's going to sign. Like, he's still, of course, like not signing.
Oh,
It's like he's apparently going to sign Friday. He's going to report for mandatory minicamp next week. He's signing with the Packers, by the way. No, he's signing with the Steelers. Finally, the longest, most pointless will he or won't he in the history of the NFL is over. We're going to talk about Rodgers in just a second. We're also talking about Anthony Richardson. Apparently going to miss so much for training camp. Like that was what ultimate escalated quickly thing because we didn't know it existed, the shoulder injury. Now he might miss some of training camp. Rashad Bateman has signed an extension, cashing in on his healthy pseudo breakout 2024. A few other topics if we have time for the GMs. But Aaron Rodgers is signed. I asked Kyle and Denny, like, what do we do? Like, what angles should we take? And Kyle said, just let it rip. Kyle, just let it rip. Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. It's going to be so friggin' amazing, dude. Like, he's going to be dropping. Nah, he's terrible now. And they have one good player, George Pickens, who they just acquired. That might be oversimplifying it. What is your unsimplified take on Aaron Rodgers finally going to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I don't think he's necessarily terrible. He's just so
rare. Kyle cut his mic. He is terrible now. Sorry, Kyle.
Like last year, he was 19th in EPA per dropback. I think part of the problem is it's just so curated. It's so limited what you can do with him because his mobility is sapped. I think the lack of that mobility, that was such a foundational part of his game. Like he was one of the original like sneaky mobile quarterbacks. All the Hail Marys aren't just like a giant chuck. He runs around, evades defenders for 8 seconds, and then throws this off-platform bomb. And so I think having really none of that left in his game is also hurting his throwing. It's not just hurting his running, his pocket presence. So yeah, you can't do a ton with this guy. But we saw the Jets get like perfectly league average play out of him essentially. And you have to do that with like curating the types of throws he makes, curating the overall volume. And if there's anything Arthur Smith is going to do, he's going to overprotect his quarterback, right? He's going to be run. You think we're going to pass? Nope, it's a run. But the next time it might be run, pass. And that pass will be a play action. It will surprise the opposing team and it will be relatively efficient. So do I think it's going to be a good offense? No, absolutely not. But do I think it prevents the team from going defunct? Like, yeah, they're going to be semi-competent. And when you have one player in DK Metcalf, like you pointed out, that's just going to get all the targets, all the air yards, just being competent is going to work out for that player for fantasy purposes.
I believe I said they traded for George Pickens. They, of course, traded out George Pickens, brought in DK Metcalf. Denny. Kyle did a great job of laying out how it's probably going to unfold in quote-unquote real life. In fantasy, like Aaron Rodgers is not going to be a single league quarterback option. To struggle even in 2 QB leagues, you're not going to feel great about him. It's like your QB 22 as your super flex. He will be relevant there some weeks, but DK Metcalf seems like not a great fit for Rodgers' current skill set. So Rodgers won't be valuable himself. I mean, who is he going to make valuable? Is he going to kill their value? Is he going to stabilize their value? Right. Is it going to be better than what they were getting last year from Russell Wilson and Justin Fields?
We're in uncharted territory with Aaron Rodgers because this is going to be the first time where he's not going to be running the Aaron Rodgers system. And we know this because in this Stallions with between him and the Steelers, he's visited with Arthur Smith and sat down with him, I think twice, and watched film with him and talked ball. And the message was clear. Like, if you come here, Aaron, we're doing things my way. We're not doing it your way. And remember, I mean, Aaron Rodgers stormed into New York. He brought in all his lackeys, right? He brought in everybody, all his yes men. He said, we're going to be doing things my way. It doesn't matter if we win or lose. We're doing it my way. He can't do that here. So I actually think, I guess the optimistic take here from a real and fantasy standpoint is that Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin might be able to save this guy from himself, because that doesn't work anymore. Like the whole we're going to do it my way thing. It worked when he was mobile, like Kyle said, mobile. He's super agile in the pocket, right? He could get out, quick feet, get out of the pocket, make great throws. He can't do that. He didn't do that last year. He was, and here's a damning stat. Only Anthony Richardson, who we'll talk about in a second, was worse on intermediate throws last year than Aaron Rodgers.
Wow.
So, I mean, we're talking like a real fall from grace for him as far as passing goes.
Denny, I think we workshopped that take on the show once earlier where like it could be good for Aaron Rodgers because, you know, this is like he's in desperation mode finally. Like he was at like the tender mercies of teams. Like they were not trying to sign. Clearly, right. It's June 5th and they still like, I don't know, bro, if you want to sign,
whatever
you like, we don't really care. Like he had to come crawling to them. So then maybe I am a little skeptical that it still just won't end up the Rodgers system. Mm-hmm. It's kind of where it's going because like he might be like, oh yeah, it sounds good, and like Arthur Smith is like, is Aaron Rodgers like clearly on his phone? Is he ordering a burrito while we're talking? Yeah, sure, yeah, we won't do that anymore. I don't care about any of that.
Yeah,
and then he shows up to training camp. And Art is like, is he installing? I don't know these plays he's installing.
Right.
Like it probably won't happen that way.
Yeah, Aaron, you got to call my plays. And maybe that will create conflict. One more thing before I forget here. So Rodgers takes a lot of time at the line of scrimmage. We know that, like, it's been proven through the analytics. No one takes longer to snap the damn ball than Aaron Rodgers. So you combine that with Arthur Smith's naturally slow-paced offense, and you have like a lack of play volume that I think affects everybody in this offense and makes it hard to target them in fantasy at their ADPs, I think.
So Rodgers, what did we learn here? It's going to be like, what did we learn here during this entire process? What did we learn here when he is the Steelers quarterback? It's just going to be like another really weird coda to an all-time great career.
Yeah.
What are the percent chances he like exceeds expectations in Pittsburgh? Like
what are expectations?
I mean, it's better than it was in New York. Better chances than it was in New York. He had no chance in New York because he was saying, "Look, it's still 2012. I'm still Aaron Rodgers. We're still doing this my way." And now he's like, "I'm a husk of a man. I can't do what I used to do. Help me, Arthur." And maybe that works.
That's what he should do. Aaron Rodgers rarely does what he should do. We'll see. What Anthony Richardson needed to do was to at least stay on the field this summer. He's in a quarterback competitions being rigged against him with Daniel Jones. They all seem like they're moving on. Like the Colts, like they're at a really weird like transition point as a franchise. Like just Ant needed a perfect offseason. He did not get it even remotely. He's not practicing in minicamp, which would be one thing. Even missing minicamp is not great when you're a guy in Anthony Richardson's position. Not the end of the world. But now Shane Steichen is saying he hopes he's back at some point, quote unquote, Denny, during training camp, aka not ready for the beginning of training camp, aka quarterback competition basically already over. Is that your reading of this? Yeah. And we've already been kind of preparing for this eventuality of like very soberly like entering the situation room and informing the president, like, sir, it is Daniel Jones. It brings me no pleasure to tell you it is
Daniel Jones has been tapped as the week 1 starter.
We all knew this day would come, son. It's all right. It is Daniel Jones. What does it mean?
It's good. It's good. It's good for.
All right, cut his mic.
It's good. It's good for the pass catchers certainly because you'll get some pass volume. It's good for Jonathan Taylor because Taylor's not going to miss out on those valuable, critical red zone touches that Anthony Richardson takes away for good reason. Anthony Richardson's a really good rusher, really efficient rusher. So I think it's good all the way around for everybody in this offense. It doesn't mean I'm not saying the Colts are going to be good. They're going to be bad, obviously. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is going to be usable in 2 QB leagues. He probably won't. Okay, well, he probably
actually I'm on board with. I'm on
top
board
24 maybe.
Daniel Jones versus Aaron Rodgers, 2 QB leagues.
Jones by a mile.
Because of the legs. I wish I could have a counter take there, but it is like unfortunately not even close.
Yeah. So by the way, it's the AC joint that he hurt in 2023 in the end of the season. He had surgery on it. So it's much worse than just like I hurt my shoulder, coach. Like, it's like,
aggravated is what they use.
bad.
Aggravated, a thing that happened in 2023. He underwent surgery on. Of course, Steichen said he will not have surgery this time, which is an all-time I'm not going to go undergo surgery shirt is answering a lot of the questions you guys are asking.
Yep.
You should not need at this point to say we're not undergoing surgery on the thing that happened in 2023. It was just re-aggravated. Just the vibes on the idea that he could be the week 1 starter are done. I can't see how it happens.
Daniel Jones is the QB 33 right now from our friends at Underdog Fantasy. They should pay me to say that, by the way. Man, probably shouldn't say that. This is probably unethical. Something citing Underdog ADP because that's just the best ADP right now.
That's right.
QB 33. He's behind Russ Wilson, so he'll exceed. Aaron Rodgers only 31, by the way. Daniel Jones, he's going to be ahead of Shuck. He's going to be ahead of Jackson Dart. He's going to be ahead of Sam Darnold. Daniel Jones or Cam Ward?
Cam Ward.
Probably Cam. Just give me the guy who's going to start 17. I do think Daniel Jones gets benched at some point.
Danny the Dimesman Jones or Geno Smith?
Oh,
Geno.
Man, come on. Geno. Easily.
I mean, give me the guy who's not getting benched. Like, Geno's not getting benched.
True. All right.
I think Daniel Jones is the best, probably going to get benched quarterback that you can draft. But that only leaves so much room for him to move up.
I have a terrible take on Richardson, if you don't mind. Oh, are you still asking about ADP?
Yeah, hold on. I uncork the take in a second. But Daniel Jones, I'm gonna expose you guys. Daniel Jones or Bryce Young?
Bryce. I don't think he's getting benched. Bryce.
The Dimesman easily 1,000 times 1,000 over Bryce Young. The Dimesman, final one, or Michael Penix Jr.
Penix.
Yeah, Penix for sure. Yeah, Denny was dabbling with this thermonuclear take before the show. What is it?
Well, it's not that. It's not
actually
that.
Not.
Okay, it's not. It's okay. So last summer, before Justin Fields was like in the rotation as far or in the competition to start for the Steelers, right? While Mike Tomlin was saying it's Russ no matter what, before he got his first text from Russell Wilson and said never mind. You could get Justin Fields in best ball really late, like in your last 3 picks. Okay, that sort of late, right? So I did that, and I feel like I profited. I didn't win $1 million, but those teams did pretty well because I got 7 starts out of Justin Fields before he was benched for no reason. Now I think you could do the same thing for Anthony Richardson here. You could draft him in your final 2 or 3 picks now that he's hurt.
You could do that. You could do literally anything. You could sell your home, become a Trappist monk.
You could try that and do the A-Rich thing. You can chew and walk gum.
Denny has become a shepherd.
Gum and walk.
Denny's a shepherd now. What?
No, listen. So you're gonna wait. You're gonna take a tight end 4, instead of just taking Anthony Richardson.
Yeah,
maybe
T-Dog, Terry Ferguson. Why not?
Maybe you get 3 to 5 starts out of him, and you get the rushing. I mean, he's a good late round pick now.
Never gonna draft Terrence Ferguson, by the way. Like as long as I live. But Kyle, I mean, do you approve of this? Do you approve of this pick donation in round 18 of your Underdog best ball drafts of Anthony Richardson?
Yeah, I think it's a fine donation. Like the guys you typically draft in round 18 are not playing football in September. Like last year, I loved me some Devontae Walker, the Ravens' 4th round pick. They had routes to spare. He had a young breakout age because he played in the MAC and had a good breakout season. Couldn't keep it up at North Carolina, and I simply did not care. And that guy did not play an ounce of football. And that's going to be a lot. Like Luke McCaffrey was another one I wasn't even as into as I was Tez Walker. And he was like a late 3rd round pick, and they had routes to spare. And that seemed like a lot. And he did not play at all, right? Just was completely unusable. Whereas if you set the line at does he make a start, half a start, he's making a start this year. I am pretty confident in that because Daniel Jones is bad.
But Luke McCaffrey is kind of one of the funnier speed of light busts in recent memory, by the way. Like he's basically out of the league. Not laughing at his misfortune, but pretty. I mean, did literally just do that, but pretty insane. Like what a huge, that went south a lot quicker than I expected. But
it is a stark reminder that, hey, you remember all those guys you love drafting?
Yeah,
they're not all gonna hit, man. You are gonna laugh at yourself.
What was I gonna say? Who's the guy? Dylan Laube.
Oh yeah, I mean that's an iconic one.
Dylan Laube.
Negative fantasy points because his only touch was a fumble.
Bears check in. Where's my Bears check in? Weekly Bears check in. DJ Moore, is he a full fade? We've kind of already talked about it on the show. He's getting, quote, let's see here, talked to about his body language. That's great. And then I love, like, publicly sulking in October is one thing. He's publicly sulking in June, saying, I don't know how much I'm going to get the ball.
That's right.
I don't know, ask coach. Like, you tell coach. He's the one divvying up targets. Like DJ, we haven't even started practicing yet. Kind of already being defeatist on the targets. And we'll get to DeAndre Swift in a second. But as DJ Moore, a full fade. Denny Carter. Roman Dunze is getting steamed. Luther Bird in the second-round pick. Colston Loveland, a first-round pick. DJ Moore, already in hell, and it's June 5th.
Well, it's a tough news cycle for DJ Moore. The Chicago, I think it was Chicago Sun-Times, maybe. Yeah, Chicago Sun-Times.
Hopefully that's still a real newspaper, and that wasn't like an AI article. The Sun-Times has had some issues of late.
It's a nonprofit now, actually.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's legit. Yeah. So Moore, this article that came out today talked about two things. One is that Ben Johnson has addressed the body language issue with DJ Moore because not only did it show up, most famously last year around mid-season against the Cardinals when during a scramble drill for Caleb Williams, DJ Moore simply walked off the field and went and sat on the bench.
Iconic moment, very funny moment, but not typically what you do.
He later said that he hurt his ankle, but let's be real, he was just frustrated. And I get it. Other guys get frustrated, but they don't walk off the field. DJ Moore apparently showed some negative body language in OTAs. Ben Johnson pulled him aside, said, you got to cut that out. Moore told reporters about it for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't really know. And then, so later on in the article, kind of buried, they said, hey, so what's your role looking like, DJ, this year? And he goes, they said, do you have any goals for 2025? He said, quote, right now, I don't have goals because I'm still learning everything. And I don't even know if I'm going to touch the ball as much as I did some years, or if I'm ever going to be used the same way.
Oh, man.
That's a tough quote.
That's a real gets a real coach once type reaction. Like, oh, someone's actually coaching me now.
I don't know. I mean, he's going to drop with this, I think, but I am not super interested.
Kyle, we've already talked about this, but wide receiver 23, DJ Moore, probably going to fall now. If it falls like the 28 to 30 range, does that start to sound like a bargain?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go in there because, like you said, we're drafting him at that point as if he's not even like one of your top two receivers. And you can have multiple receivers and maybe even like your first running back or go for an elite tight end off the board. And he can be a guy who's fighting to be in your receiver 3/flex spot. And this is an offense that, as much as like I'm more on Denny's side, like Caleb deserves a lot of blame for playing like crap as a rookie, but also coaching was terrible. They did improve the offensive line. They did give him more weapons. If there was any team that would, quote, surprise us with their turnaround, the thing is at this point, it wouldn't be surprising because everyone is picking them as the breakout team. But with that being said, if there's any team that's going to surprise us where they go from zero to hero in one offseason, it would very obviously be the Chicago team. And as long as he's out there and he still has like the physical talent that he used to have, which like last year it wasn't a physical thing. It was, I don't want to be here. Somewhat understandably so. As long as he still has that physical talent and this offense makes the jump that we're already kind of pricing in by drafting these players where we are, he's going to be a massive beneficiary. Do I think they make that jump? I'm like on the fence. I understand it's it's not something you can capture in numbers. It's not something you can capture in probabilities. How bad, what percent bad is Shane Steichen as a coach? And what percent upgrade is Ben Johnson? Dude, I do not know. I know he's a lot better. How much will that impact Caleb? How much responsible was Caleb for his own shortcomings? I don't know, but it's a clear upside swing to bet on this offense. So I'm still going to draft some DJ Moore, but like he got really bad really quickly last year in terms of the efficiency, and he doesn't seem like he wants to play football here. Not the best signs.
A lot of red flags, but he could be the classic, like those were real headlines, but I wish I hadn't read so much into them. And like May and June. Mm-hmm. But the guy who's ultimately had one really good year. He's had one year where he truly lived up to expectations. So DJ Moore, it's already been a pattern. Not always his fault, but headed in the wrong direction. DeAndre Swift, Denny, looks like maybe headed in the right direction. I just wonder, are we underrating re-breakout odds for DeAndre Swift? Marquee Sports Network's Scott Bayer has reported that he's putting in the work to be physically ready for a heavy workload in 2025. Currently the RB27 on Underdog. I know like DeAndre Swift. Talk about a guy who's like he's like a true never again guy in fantasy. But what if it worked for us?
I know.
2025.
Real quick before I get to Swift in the backfield, I think the drafting of Luther Burden weighs pretty heavily on the DJ Moore thing because now Burden is the guy of the current coach. Like, the current coach liked him enough to, I guess, approve of the draft pick in the second round, no less. I know Burden's always injured. I know he's hurt now, and I get the hesitance.
He's also the kind of guy that would walk off the field at some point.
Yeah, true. So
limp, but yes,
he's not a slam dunk, but I do feel like his presence makes me more queasy on DJ Moore. Anyway, yeah. So DeAndre Swift said he told reporters, "I looked at the tape last year and I didn't like what I saw." And
same,
honestly,
both, buddy.
Honestly, same. I looked at the spreadsheets and I did not like it. I mean, it was putrid. Like 44% success rate. That's like one of the worst in the league among running backs who had at least 50 carries. Basically unusable for large swaths of the season from a fantasy standpoint, even 12-team leagues. And Roschon Johnson is still there lurking. I wouldn't be surprised.
I cut his mic.
Yeah, look,
Johnson. You mentioned Roschon,
And if he takes the goal line stuff, that's a big problem. The one thing that Swift maybe has going for him is that he has a Ben Johnson connection and that they work together in Detroit.
And you traded him, but yeah,
I know the Lions immediately kicked him out, but
Justin Jackson over him or whatever.
But they know each other, and that's more than you can say about some coaches and their running backs. So that's good.
That's true. Kyle, quick over or under RB27.
Under in the positive way, like he finishes the RB 24, 23, 22. I mean, especially if we're talking about this is a team that makes the leap. The Lions aren't known for being the most prolific passing game in the world. They're really efficient at it, but they're not the highest volume passing game in the NFL. It's that they're good passing game and they pick their spots extremely well. And they do it pretty often too, but they're not like a high pass rate over expected team. Frankly, they are probably the best, or I guess they're probably the second or third best running team in the NFL, and it particularly trickles down to their fantasy output. They have incredible fantasy output. Last year, they had one of the 90th percentile, a top 10 overall season, both in terms of expected fantasy points and actual fantasy points for their running backs of the past 7 years. And in the Ben Johnson era, it's typically been 80th or 90th percentile, both in terms of the overall opportunity and them making good on that opportunity. This is a backfield that, yes, they won't reach the Lions level of in terms of overall production, because Lions are a better offense with a better offensive line. But will they improve upon what we've seen in years past? I think that's almost certainly true. That's in part what Ben Johnson's brought in to do. And he's super cheap. He can be your third running back. He can be filling in for the flex every now and then. You don't have to draft him as if he's a week one immediate, I need him to score points kind of guy. This is just a good price for a guy who should get a lot of opportunities. This is the typical dead zone bet we make in the 4th round or in the 5th round. And he's free relative to that kind of price we would used to have to pay.
And an undrafted free agent leads the Bears and carries the show.
Right.
Yeah. Swift has he failed just in a lot of different circumstances for a lot of different coaches, but they do not have a compelling alternative. We have a compelling alternative. It's to take a short break and come right back after this and talk about NFL general managers. Since there really isn't an offseason in the NFL, stay dialed in with us on the NBC Sports Now channel. Join Dan Patrick, Mike Florio, Chris Sims, Matthew Berry, and us from the Rotoworld Football Show for more insight on the biggest news and stories around the league. For more details, visit NBCSports.com/now. Yep, so it's all about me now. Second half of the show. Again, it's been a while since the coaches thing. We did the Roto takeover. Hour. No, but it's an interesting topic. People love to yell and shout about it. Not even tired. Like, why do I do this, by the way, every year? Like, I love doing it, but it's not just vanity, is it?
No, that's probably it.
No, it probably is it, and that's okay. That's a reason to write.
And actually, that's true. That's true. Yeah. The words, producer Adams asked me how many. I am not a word count bragger, like truly. I wanted it to be much shorter. It was over 7,000 words.
I guess 6. Yeah.
Because it's so hard. It's even harder with the GMs and the coaches because you have to get in so many examples.
Yes.
And I don't force those in, but It requires about, on average, 50 to 75 more words of explanation than a coach.
Right.
Yeah, it's not fair to be like, this guy always trades up and then not say a single trade up this guy has ever done. You want to give that context.
So I ranked the GMs. What, Denny? Yeah.
I was going to say you took a very Stephen King approach with your GM.
I know.
You kept right.
Become a workaday writer when it's the GMs. Number one's Howie Roseman, by the way. Number 28, I always rank the new sub-retire. So dead last is Joe Shane, the Giants. And it's not even like he's horrible. And same thing with the coaches of the GMs. Like the worst GM now is a lot better than the worst GM was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, like Terry Fontenot would be like a top 5 GM. Like things have just really changed.
Who did Shane replace? I'm totally blanking on.
It was someone who was fired. Probably maybe Trent Baalke. I don't even remember.
No, I don't think it was Trent Baalke.
No, I'm saying I thought you meant his last on the list.
No. Who did Shane replace in New York?
It doesn't. What's his name?
Gettleman.
Gettleman's like an all-time. This guy is hanging out at 28th for like 5 years in a row. I don't know if there is a GM worse than Gettleman right now.
No, so like the worst GM now is a lot better than the worst GM used to be. Just as the worst coach now is a lot better than the worst coach used to be. But Shane is last. I mean, Dan Morgan was second to last. I mean, the guy has no chance of success at all. Like just literally zero chance of success. The owners calling one code red after another. There's nothing he could do. Eliot Wolf is down low, but just limited sample size for Eliot Wolf. Chris Ballard, some are saying should be lower. But Howie's number one. The Rams, the Chiefs. Oh, by the way, it's always a little difficult to like even say like who is the GM, of course. Because like the Broncos, I probably should have just put Sean Payton, but I put George Payton or Patton or whatever his name is. But anyways, that's like the gist of the list, Denny. But then, there's people too high. There's people too low. There's people that will be rising. Who is someone on the list that you think is underrated on the annual GM's compendium?
I said Adam Peters.
I'm going to stop you right there immediately. He's number 11. It's how high can you put one guy after one good year?
I know.
Tell me why he needs to be higher.
And I'm not saying that he should be in the top 5, but I would put him over Schneider. And I would put him over Licht.
Light.
We should have looked up how to say these guys' names.
That one's Light. I know for sure that one's Jason Licht.
Yeah, Jason Licht. So so it's not a huge thing, but you have him 11. I would put him at 8 or 9. Can I read what you wrote?
Please do. You don't have to do that. Sure, shucks.
All right, because I thought it was a good point, and I was going to try to summarize it, but I just wanted to read what you wrote. Although this team is understandably playing for 2025, talking about the Commanders, Peters now just needs to make sure he doesn't sacrifice overall roster stability and depth for the transient present. There's a reason Washington was picking number 2 overall in 2024. Then again, when your circumstances change, there's no point in pretending otherwise. What was supposed to be a rebuild is instead a championship window. If Peters ends up paying a price in 2027 or 2028, there's a strong chance it will have been worth it. And I think that is the key here. Even if the Commanders go for it in this window, and really, with Jaden Daniels on his rookie deal, you have 2 years left of the window before you have to give him $1 trillion, right? and the window's closed pretty much. So you're going to go for it in 2025, go for it in 2026. If it doesn't work, maybe you pay a price. Maybe they slip down to like a mid-tier team in 27. So be it. Like go for it. Like do the thing. And I think that's what they're doing with these offseason moves. Laramie Tunsil, Deebo Samuel, they had a pretty good draft. I think that they're trying to get their championship right now. And I think the people in the Washington area where I live recognize that. It's good.
They're very excited. We know it's just not that. We saw the exact same thing with the Texans last year. They win a playoff game once. They immediately go all in. But there's no point in – you made the NFC Championship game with a rookie quarterback. Like, you can't pretend like you're still in, like, build the roster mode.
Yes.
That's just not how it works in the NFL. The NFL, one of the most common fallacies of the NFL, really, honestly, any league and championship windows, like anytime a team arrives early – like the 2015 Cubs, Major League Baseball were ahead of schedule. Be like, oh man,
we'll have no impact on how Denny and I understand the conversation. But go ahead.
But there's always this belief that if a championship window opens early, it's always, they're going to be forced to reckon with for 8 or 9 years. Where the windows are just always shorter than you expect. And when they open earlier than expected, that doesn't mean you have extra time. It just means it opened earlier than expected. And it's like the Commanders.
Yeah,
it is tough. It's tough not to go like the Texans went kind of overboard last year and didn't really get much return on it, but you kind of just have to do that.
The Texans got unlucky with some things last year. The offense
CJ Stroud being horribly exposed. But
yeah, a little bit exposed. Nico Collins' injury was big, real big for that offense. So, but I love the way Peters has been aggressive and hit big time on Jaden Daniels, and now they have a legit shot to do something here.
Denny, as I said in the article, by the way, though, besides making the NFC Championship game in his first year with the quarterback he drafted, a coach he hired, and a defensive captain he signed in free agency, it wasn't really a very.
What has he done?
Yeah, what has he done? What has Adam Peters done? Kyle, you can share any thoughts you have on Adam Peters, but if not, who's someone you think is underrated on the annual GM's list?
I fall a little more on the side of like, other than doing all those great things he did, what has he done? Mostly because I want to be giving Jaden Daniels as much credit as possible for this turnaround. Like,
that's a good point.
Still think it's underappreciated just how good, how special his rookie season is. And like, congrats. He took the consensus number 2 quarterback at number 2 overall. Throw a party, man.
What a hater.
Of course, he turned out to be great. And like you took the layup. You stepped up to the plate, you hit a single, and that single let you run 3 bases. How did that happen?
No difference between good and bad things.
And he's way better than the number 1 guy. So that
he is way better than the number 1 guy. So congratulations on that. You did the right thing. I do think like what we're giving him props for trading for completely washed Deebo Samuel, like Can you at least, if you're going to go in on the window, do it well? Like, no, thanks.
I will say, Kyle, too, before we get to your underrated, I wrote in the Mike Borgonzi write-up, like, he did the easy thing. Like, he kept it simple. He took Cam Ward. It is astonishing how frequently they don't keep it simple, even when given the opportunity. Because you don't get many opportunities to keep it simple. Adam Peters deserves credit, I feel like, even for keeping it simple. Like, all right, well, we're not going to trade the pick. You know, we're not going to have like a bake-off between Jaden Daniels and whoever the QB3 was. I already forgot. The 6 QBs in the top 12. He just took the best player available at his pick. And it is stunning how often that even doesn't happen.
I agree that he does deserve some credit for doing the right thing. Like,
some credit. I might say more than some credit, but
okay, some like he took number 2 quarterback, number 2. Give me a freaking break.
Okay. Who then? You don't think he's underrated at all? Adam Peters. Who do you think is underrated, Kyle?
I thought he was probably related. I'll go with Jason Licht, a guy Denny mentions. Like, I think the thing that impressed me,
a real tough one every single year, I'll say.
Yeah. The thing that impresses me the most with Jason Licht was the fact that after he comes out of the Tom Brady era, gets Super Bowl out of that, I was pretty sure most teams, at least, will chase the ghost like they're the Saints and refuse to actually reset. I would say they got lucky. I'm not going to give them a ton of credit for Baker Mayfield being great.
I was going to say, we're talking Adam Peters getting lucky. Like, Jason Licht has a pretty long track record, but I'd say Baker Mayfield, like, being a franchise quarterback.
I think that's luck, but you put yourself in a position to get lucky. Like, you took like a weird upside flyer on Baker Mayfield that was extremely low cost, and then you get out when it turns out to work out well. I was fully on board with that being a tank year. It was Baker going into training camp. We did not know if Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield were going to be the starter on that team, but they took like low cost 2nd round pick Kyle Trask and like high upside, but probably probably low floor, obviously, Baker Mayfield. It was like, one of these guys is going to work, or we are going to lose a ton of games and get a quarterback pick next year. I think that's how you want to come out of eras where you are really good and then it's over. Essentially, elite quarterback retirements, which is the thing the Saints have kind of struggled to do. And the Steelers have gracefully struggled to do it as well. They have not been nearly as like dysfunctional as the Saints, but they're also going out in the wild.
They have been as dysfunctional as the Saints. They've just done it with more class, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they've won more games than the Saints, which I would say is more functional. But like, congrats on your wild card losses. It's not that big of a deal that you make it to the wild card round every year. So I don't want to give either of those teams too much credit. And I do want to give the Bucs a lot of credit for exiting the Tom Brady era with a plan, even if that plan was in all likelihood going to be very unfun for a year or two. And of course, they go out and it works out very well. But another advantage they've had is they go out and they extend Baker Mayfield extremely early to the point where he is paid as, I think, the 19th highest quarterback in terms of average pay per salary right now. Yeah. That is such a bargain for a guy who I think is like a top 10 quarterback. I don't think he's top 5, top 6, but like, is he 9, 10, 11? Is he in that range? I kind of think he is.
Light is a guy who he's probably doomed to always be a bit underrated because, listen, he had 6 losing seasons before he got Tom Brady. So the perception of the Brady years was, it was Tom Brady.
Sure.
The only way the Brady years work, of course, is if you have a deceptively great roster. So Light is probably just kind of always doomed to be a bit underrated. I did have him in the top 10. Bucs fans are not happy that I have him behind John Schneider.
Yeah, the Schneider one rubbed me the wrong way. By the way, Baker last year tied with Lamar Jackson for third best dropback success rate. So we're talking like legit, like a very good quarterback.
The computers are not all right.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I agree.
Sounds like Denny. You think John Schneider's overrated? Was he your choice for overrated GM, or is there someone else even more overrated than John Schneider?
No, Brandon Beane was my choice.
That's a tough one because I write in the Brandon Beane writer. Yeah, he might get fired.
Yeah, yeah. So Brandon Beane, you have him at number 8. I would
Brandon
have him
Beane / Sean McDermott. By the way,
you're right. I would have him at number 28. No, I'm kidding. But outside the top 10 for sure, I think. He's a Josh Allen merchant. And they've done nothing else. This team without Josh Allen is bottom of the barrel.
Without their best player, they'd be terrible.
I mean, you take away. I mean, Lamar Jackson misses 5 games a year, and the Ravens are all right.
They go like 9-8 and miss the playoffs, but yeah.
And Josh Allen. So it's just Josh Allen. So you have Coleman and Kincaid bust, right?
Trying to give
all this. Josh Allen some help, right? So they go out and they sign who? Josh Palmer. That's the guy they sign. Along with
Denny, their previous signing of Curtis Samuel somehow didn't work out, so they had to replace that.
Right. So Curtis Samuel didn't work. Josh Palmer didn't work. Khalil Shakir is their number 1 guy. They're paying him $1 billion for some reason. They signed Joey Bosa, who's already out, who's already hurt. Like he might return in the summer. Who knows? That Von Miller thing was a disaster.
It was a disaster. But here's what else. Push back on all of that. I write about this extensively in the article about how punitive the league's CBA is to greatness and to great teams, and how it's just like if you're an elite team, you're getting hammered by the salary cap and you're getting hammered by the draft. And the Bills, you don't get just a free pass for that because like the Chiefs and the Ravens do a better job navigating that reality. But I'll just say with the Bills, they're a particularly extreme version of, they have no money because Josh Allen's one of the highest paid players in the history of the NFL. Or no money, relatively speaking, of course. And they never have good draft capital because they're always picking in the 26 to 30 range. And it just limits your margin for error so much. And it can be done. You can be really ruthless and really cynical like the New England Patriots were, and cut guys who really don't deserve to be cut, or like sign guys, like, wow, didn't he just get arrested? I probably shouldn't do that. Where the Bills haven't found like life packs like the Chiefs. That's one thing the Chiefs, they draft a lot of guys who fall because they have like character concerns or whatever. But the Bills
Eagles
are just one.
They do that a lot, frankly.
That's true. So the Bills are just one of the teams I feel like they're really hammered by like the we're good tax. And so like they have limited opportunities every year. And they have not made the most of them at all the past few years. But I do agree with that.
I mean, Keon Coleman, that was a bad pick. Like that's not going to work. I don't know, man.
I saw he was like freakishly high in one of the next gen stats metrics. By the way, I think it was Yak over expected.
Okay, so made up. All right.
Yeah, I know. But
I will say he was like fine in yards per out run. It looked like he was getting a little breakout there, but it was very weird how both the film and the data, people were like, oh, he looks like a big slot. He doesn't look like he went on the outside. And the moment they draft him, they go, that's an X receiver right there.
That's
and I'm like, you guys clearly saw something we didn't, because none of us would think that's a smart idea. Oh, no, they were just wrong was the answer.
The Bills, too, by the way, they did take some salary cap medicine last year. They did a bunch of cuts and all that. So I think they're trying to get more savvy and sophisticated where they've just had some – I don't know, the Bills weren't good for decades. Maybe they're just having growing – and like the Chiefs weren't good either, but Andy Reid had already had 15 years of success in Philadelphia. Maybe he's just better at navigating success. And maybe the Bills are just finally figuring out like how to deal with their champagne problems is how I would try to excuse what they're doing. But it has not been a great 2 years for the Bills.
No, the drafting is not good. I will give them credit. They've kept their defense viable. I was looking at some of their stats over
Mostly
the past
coaching,
couple seasons, right? And they're top 10 in a lot of key metrics. So, you know, they haven't fallen off the cliff, but man, they cannot get any help for Josh Allen. It's crazy.
Kyle, who is overrated in this year's annual GM rankings?
Denny made the joke about what Brandon Beane was 8 and he should have been 28. I'll make that joke for Mickey Loomis. He's 19. He should be 29. And you didn't even rank 29 coaches.
Real quick, Mickey Loomis. I had him, I think, as low as 23, and I think as high as 18 at one point. And he's a tough – because, guys, I just will say the track record stuff, John Schneider, it becomes like a track record guy. Like, the reality is when you're on the job so long, there will be bad years.
Sure.
But Mickey Loomis has not handled the Sean Payton transition well at all, Kyle. Probably one of the points you're going to make. What are the points you're going to make about Mickey Loomis being severely overrated?
Yeah, it hasn't handled the Sean Payton, or it's really the Drew Brees transition that he just has no clue what to do. When he's not handed one of the best coaches of all time, one of the best quarterbacks of all time.
When he hires one of the best coaches of all time, signs one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Although probably Payton did that, but still.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Give him credit for those. When he makes good decisions, he's really good. When he doesn't set himself, he's face plants. He is such a face plant guy where he does not understand how to let the bottom fall out for even a year. Like, so since 2019, this might not be the perfect number. It's going to be close though. The Saints have 12 trade ups and 0 trade downs. It's hard to say.
I wish I had put that in the article, man. Oh, man.
It's hard to say exactly because like if you trade for Teddy Bridgewater, but you get a pick in return, you're not trading down. You're just using the picks. So I kind of had to fudge the numbers. Maybe someone goes back and counts and it's like 13-1 or whatever. But that's about right. It's going to be 12-0, 13-1, something like that. Currently, Michael Thomas and James Winston last played for this team in 2023. Michael Thomas was last relevant for this team in like 2020. They are combining for $17 million in dead cap this year. Alvin Kamara was 36 in rush yards over expected. He has dead cap hits out to 2028. Taysom Hill has void years.
Don't even tell me how many void years Taysom has. Oh my God.
In 2027, they will still be paying Taysom Hill. So this is a team that is continually building as if they're a Super Bowl contender that's just 1 inch away, and they're a bottom feeder. They're like 36 million over the cap next year already, and their big move to transition out of the Drew Brees era. I talked about how I thought that the Bucs made a good decision. We're like, it's probably not going to work if we go Baker and Kyle Trask, but who knows? Maybe it does work. And of course, they get lucky that it works. I would not have pegged Baker at that point in his career to be a franchise guy, but it does work out for them. The big decision for the Saints was, do we go that kind of route? And within a year, they were like, let's sign the corpse of Derek Carr to money we'll be paying him in 2030. Like, come on.
I had a line summing almost all that up in the article. Denny, can you read?
Sure.
My own line that keeps making me laugh.
And that's when you know it's good.
It's true.
Pat says, everyone knows Mickey Loomis's one weird trick. Pretend the salary cap doesn't exist and renegotiate every contract like you are trying to create the next Bobby Bonilla day.
Did you guys know what Bobby Bonilla day?
Yeah, of course. But the Zoomers won't know. I mean, besides Kyle. But you're right. By the way, did you read this thing about Derek Carr being like, I didn't take 20 million because I felt bad about it?
Yeah, boy, that guy.
Well, the thing is also he kind of in a way like paid that money back to not have to undergo surgery. Personally, I'd undergo pretty much any procedure for 20 million. But to be fair, he's made a lot of money. So
Loomis, he's fighting yesterday's war. He's another guy. The ranking too is annoying. Like the rankings, of course, is a framing device. I take the ranking part seriously, but it is more just about writing up where they are. And where I say Mickey Loomis is basically he's fighting yesterday's war. He could not have waited any longer to at least move on from Sean Payton. He finally moved outside the Sean Payton coaching tree, but that he's probably still just delaying the most inevitable rebuild in the history of sport. And also that I appreciate the mentality of we're not going to tank. I hate how we've gotten so used to teams tanking in North American sports, but you watch the Saints and it's like, yep, they should be tanking. They need to be tanking. Mickey Loomis very much on the spot in 2025. He'll be replaced by an up-and-coming GM, Denny, at some point. Who do you think is maybe an ascender on the? It could be a guy who's a new hire, or it could be a guy who's like just a first or second year hire. As we end the show, who do you think is an ascending GM?
John Spytek, the Raiders GM, and
I agree.
The reason is because he's doing things the anti-Al/Mark Davis way. Like, he's actually being patient. He's actually doing like what you're supposed to do to build a viable NFL roster that could compete year in and year out, at least compete, right? I mean, no one's going to say the Raiders are Super Bowl contenders right now, and maybe they won't be even in the near future, but at least they have stopped being stupid. And you outlined it, and folks can check that out. I don't want to read the whole thing, but
quote whatever you want. Yeah, I mean,
but I will quote this. So Spytek took the best player available at number 6, talking about Ashton Genty, and spread his picks out across 7 position groups. He was building for the future, hard as that may be, in the league's oldest with the league's oldest coach in the tough division. Patience,
toughest division.
Yes, patience isn't always a virtue in the NFL. It's still always better than forcing overnight solutions that don't actually exist. And I could see Spytek staying there for a long time. I don't know if it's the Brady influence or what, but
it's Pete Carroll built teams this way in Seattle too. Pete Carroll had final personnel say, and it is got to be some of the Pete Carroll Pete, who we never want to give any credit to, kind of understandably so. I'm sure looms very large over what they did though this offseason.
Yeah, so I'm very much on the Spytek train.
Kyle, who do you think is ascending? It could be a new hire. It could be like Monty Ossenfort, second or third year guy. Who do you think is ascending?
I'll go with Eliot Wolf, because I want to say this year that he'll be ranked higher next year when Drake May's a superstar, and at which point I'll get to say, oh, what, you took the big arm, super athletic quarterback, and now you get to be ranked 11? But like, I have a lot of faith that Drake May, what he showed as a rookie, was that he's both freakishly athletic with his legs and has a cannon for an arm, and is not the Anthony Richardson. He has a cannon, and we do not know how to point it in the right direction. He actually is accurate with the cannon as well. And to his credit, I don't think he's done like the best job, but he does seem to continually believe like we need to keep trying to give Drake May weapons. Obviously, it didn't work with Jalen Polk and Javon Baker last year, but like top of the second round,
Bill Belichick memorial picks.
Yeah, they were legacy picks. They were like, this one's for you, Bill. And then they're like, do you need to do a second one in the 4th round? And he's like, also this one, Javon Baker, is for you. But he does believe that they need to surround Drake May with weapons, which I also agree is the appropriate way to support a young quarterback. So I think he'll be overrated soon, but I want to get on the bandwagon early.
Man, to close it out, some thoughts for John Schneider's super hard to rank every single year. They're never bad. They haven't been as good as they should be in a while. I don't think his process on the whole is bad. The Jamal Adams trade, one of the worst trades in the history of the league, but hard to separate John Schneider and Pete Carroll. Schneider is difficult every year. Nick Caserio is kind of hard. 2 really great moves, but what has he really done other than, besides getting 2 elite players and CJ Stroud, we hope elite, and Will Anderson, what's he really done? Kwesi in Minnesota he's a tough one. I want
to like him. I want to like
him too, because he's the analytics king. But
yeah,
I mean, that's Andrew Berry too. I want to like Andrew Berry, and you just cannot like a guy who made the worst decision in pro sports history.
See, Berry, I don't let off the hook, but in the write-up, Barry's clearly, it's like a Jerry Jones situation.
Right.
This year, they literally took the QB5. No QBs were taken between Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. And then they had to take Shedeur Sanders. I mean, like the most obvious ownership pick of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, literally on the video, you can see all
of their hearts drop.
Yeah.
It's honestly poignant to watch.
Yeah.
You can see them like they're dropping in real time. So they're hard. Jerry Jones is always extremely hard. They just went 12-5 3 years in a row. Mm-hmm. We know he's not good. Man. We think.
That's hard to believe, man. 12-5.
Oh, what? You draft Micah Parsons, Zeke, Dak Prescott. You just draft a bunch of good players every year, and all of a sudden you're a good coach or a good GM. But, like, man, they end up drafting a lot of good players, a lot of superstars. They're kind of a top-heavy team.
The Cowboys are always top-heavy. They get the big decisions right a lot, except for, like, when to extend players. Duke Tobin's always hard. Chris Greer's kind of hard. Like Omar Khan was hard. It's like, I guess maybe he's good, but he hasn't been that good.
I don't know.
So just Andrew Berry's difficult. But Terry Fontenot was a fun one to write. But really fun. Check it again. I truly, there's nothing worse than a word count bragger. But it's very long because I put a lot of thought into it.
Yes, you did.
Spent way too much time on it.
Folks should definitely check it out.
And I don't expect people a lot of times. I'm not that people need my permission. I don't really expect people to like read the whole article. I expect people to like Control F. Like,
Control F your favorite GM and then yell at Pat online. That's what he's waiting for.
So check it out if you have time. Check out us on Tuesday when we're back to talk more fantasy football on the Rotoworld Football Show. I'm Patrick Daugherty. That was Denny Carter. That was Kyle Dvorchak. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.